Am I the asshole for bringing my SIL's wallet to the restaurant when she conveniently always forgets it? Edit. Update on profile. My, F28, SIL, Amy, F26, always comes to visit from out of town. She stays with us instead of a hotel, and always wants to go to expensive restaurants. She always conveniently forgets her wallet, or domes up with some excuses as to why she can't pay her share. She has implied that since I make much more money than her, I should be the one to pay. No, not my husband should pay, but me specifically. I do make a fair amount of money, but not so much that I can treat someone every time they come into town. Nonetheless, in the past, I have just paid the bill and asked her to pay me back. She never has. She had made a reservation at an extremely expensive restaurant last night, and before we left, I made it clear that I wouldn't be paying her bill. This is where I might be the asshole, and I'll admit I got this move straight from an episode of 2.5 Men. As we were leaving, her and my husband went to the car. I pretended I forgot something and went back inside. I found her wallet sitting right on top of her suitcase. I put it in my purse and we went to the restaurant. When we were done eating, I asked for separate bills. She said no, we need one bill, because she forgot her wallet again. I reached in my purse and said, "This wallet?" She was extremely furious. She said that I should not have touched or grabbed her wallet. So am I the asshole for taking her wallet and bringing it to the restaurant? Edit. Wow, thanks for all the awards. Geez lol. So many comments that I can't keep up, but thank you to everyone who had something to say. Edit 2. Amy just called me. She saw this post and she yelled at me for badmouthing her on the internet. Honestly, I don't care. Amy, hopefully reading all these comments is a wake-up call for you. Not the asshole, but you totally should have flipped the switch, left your wallet at home, only brought your license so she had to cover the whole bill, then never taken her out to a restaurant again. She made the reservation and invited you. Etiquette says she would be responsible for 100% of that bill. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Awesome power move. But when is your husband gonna step up and make her pay her share? Why do you and your husband still allow her to stay with you or choose expensive restaurants or even go out with her? I think you need to talk to your husband about this behavior. I am very curious as to why he hasn't stepped in and shut this down, and wonder if he is the one encouraging her to do this behind your back. Stop eating out with her. When she makes a reservation, tell her to have a nice evening and DoorDash yourself a nice meal. Am I the asshole for tricking my parents into being on time for my wedding? My, M33. Parents are late for everything. Like everything. Both of my sisters and myself have been disappointed so many times. Graduation ceremonies, birthday parties, even my father's retirement dinner. It is completely my mother's fault. She is a wonderful mother and I love her dearly, she just does not understand the concept of punctuality. I have seen her talking to her sister on the phone and reminded her she needed to be at my baby sister's dance recital. She waved me off and arrived after my sister had danced. We are all used to it. My dad is just done trying to get her to be on time for anything. My now wife, F28, told me in no uncertain terms that if my mother was late for our wedding she would do terrible things to me. She was only half joking. But she was a witness to my mom and dad arriving halfway through my cousin's quinceañera. So here is what I did. It is completely on me. Me wife was not involved. If there is a dick move, it was completely mine. When we were getting samples for the wedding, I talked to the printer and had one special invitation printed with the time on it stated as being 1 hour earlier than the actual start time of the ceremony. My mother was beside herself apparently when they left the house and thought they were going to miss the wedding since she was a part of it with her and my mill lighting the candles we would use to light the unity candle and stuff. When she arrived and noticed other people were also just arriving and parking, she was so relieved that we were starting late that she just went with it. The ceremony went off beautifully. And so did the wedding pictures and the reception. The problem came last Sunday. My parents came over for a big family dinner and we didn't bother starting the grill until they showed up. She asked why everyone wasn't eating and we just said we knew we would be waiting for them since they are always late. She said that she was not always late and had been on time for my wedding. She hadn't been. They arrived 45 minutes after the time on their invitation. My idiot cousin John, real name because it's common and he deserves people to know he is adult, snorted at her statement. A few other people giggled or smiled at this and she picked up and asked what was so funny. I came clean and told her about the special invitation. She is pissed at me for not trusting her and making her look foolish in front of everyone. If my cousin had just controlled himself she never would have known. The asshole. Edit. Part of the reason she is mad is because she had her invitation framed. To be honest, I was already planning a heist with my sisters to replace it with the real one in case she ever noticed the discrepancy between hers and the one we have framed in our home. Edit number 2. Yeah, we are Latinos. And no, I do not in any way consider it racist. How many of you guessed that? I have been to Spain and it's an issue there too. And the Philippines. Basically anywhere those guys were in charge. Edit 3. Stop defending John. He and I have spent 30 years messing with each other. I have an Am I the Asshole story that ends with me getting an offensive tattoo, $5,000 for removal, and him getting a body cavity search at the Mexican border. I would post it, but it happened like 10 years ago. Not the asshole. How can she complain? If you had sent her an invite with the real time, then she would have been 45 minutes late. She should appreciate the fact that you wanted her to be there enough that you took the time to make her a special invite to ensure she arrived on time. Not the asshole. She is embarrassed because she has a problem showing up on time and you proved it. Just keep repeating that she was 45 minutes late. Flat out tell her that had you not lied to her, she would have missed your wedding, and that not only will you never apologize for doing what you did, you want an apology from her for being 45 minutes late in the first place. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. OP's mother. Why didn't you trust me to be on time? OP's mother. Proceeds to arrive late. Logic? Gone. Hotel? Trivago. Am I the asshole for not wanting to pay for my wife's spending money? Throwaway because people who know me are on here. Before the birth of our daughter, my wife and I both worked full-time in low-middle earning jobs, with my wife earning a bit more than I but not by much. My wife returned to work out of necessity when our daughter was 3 months old. Her mental health became pretty bad and she has a minor disability that makes work life a little hard, and she found it a bit worse after having our daughter, but we had to do what we had to do. My wife's nan, who sort of raised her and was her only family, passed away sadly when our daughter was 6 months old. My wife inherited everything she owned. It was a big inheritance. Not enough for us both to immediately retire, but a lot. Enough for us to buy a decent house outright, a new car each, and to put some away for a comfortable retirement. Shortly after her nan died, my wife stopped working and became a stay-at-home mom. Partially due to grief and struggles at her job, and a bit because she always would have preferred to stay home with our daughter. Thing is though, I'd rather not work and be a stay-at-home dad too, but I've been sucking it up because we still need an income to get by. My wife spoke with me recently about how to budget so we can live off just my income. She'd been dipping into savings to pull her weight, but that's all tied up in investments now. I said if I'm the one who has to work, and I'd rather not, I don't think I should have to spend my money funding her hobbies and spending money. If she chooses not to work, then she can buy clothes at the charity shop instead of new and get a friend to cut her hair for free, etc. Or she can get a job working a night shift or start an online business or something to fund her spending money. I don't see why I should have to pay for stuff like her sewing materials and gym membership, since I don't benefit from them and they're not my responsibility. I'm happy to pay for stuff for our daughter seeing as she's my responsibility, so I don't think I'm being unreasonable here. I work 36 hours a week and I already pay for the bills and food. She said that's not fair if I get to enjoy my gym membership and hobbies like video games, but the difference is I'm paying for them with my money. My wife said her inheritance was worth more than if she spent her whole life working, and without that, both of us would be working anyway and having higher expenses from paying a mortgage and car loans, so I should count that as her contribution and share my money with her. Am I the asshole? You are the asshole. You are aware that the inheritance belongs solely to your wife? Right? She didn't have to buy you a house, car, or fund your retirement. So your wife bought you a house, 2 cars, fully funded your retirement, and is raising your kid, but you don't think you should pay for things she enjoys? Maybe she should take back the house and cars. You are the asshole. Your wife paid for the house you live in and the car you drive, but you won't give her money to buy clothes or get her haircut. Wow. Hypocrite much? FYI, your wife is working. She is taking care of your daughter, and I suspect she is doing all the work to cook and clean and run the household, too. And did I mention that she gave you a house to live in and a car to drive? Don't be so cheap that you drive off your wife. When she leaves you, she'll take the rest of her inheritance with her along with your daughter. Am I the asshole for ignoring a kid's life-threatening allergy? My wife and I moved out of the city and bought a small acreage a year ago. We've been saving for years to live a life that was free of HOA's restrictions. The first week after we moved in we had a lot of people stop by. One of them was Amanda. Almost immediately she appeared distressed. She asked why we had peanuts on our patio. We explained that we put them out for the birds and squirrels. She explained that her 11-year-old son had a severe allergy to nuts and could we please stop. As she explained it, birds and squirrels could drop or hide nuts close to her house, a few roads over. I will admit, I got my back up a bit because we had purposefully moved to a rural area to get away from restrictions. But my wife convinced me it wasn't a big deal and we could just switch to seeds. We did just so, and while the birds don't visit as much, I figured it was an okay compromise for the sake of a little boy. We only see Amanda in passing ever since, but are always cordial with each other. The big issue came 2 weeks ago. I recently started selling things at the local market. Eggs, peacock feathers, fruit from our fruit trees, my wife's crafts, and walnuts from the trees on our land. We've been providing a pretty solid addition to our income. 2 weeks ago, Amanda came pounding on our door. My wife, who is very non-confrontational, answered and Amanda demanded to see our walnut trees as she had heard from a neighbor that they were on our land. My wife admitted we had about 10 but made up an excuse saying she had to leave for an appointment. Before leaving Amanda exclaimed, 10? Well, obviously they'll need to be cut down. Tisk, tisk, we've already had this discussion. This week Amanda showed up while I was home with a petition, less than 20 names, demanding we cut down our trees. My rationale was the trees were decades old and if he hasn't encountered the nuts yet, it would be unlikely he would in the future. She was obviously very angry and said, if I had known about them they wouldn't be decades old. She threatened to bring her petition to the local authorities and call the police for public endangerment. I admit, I got angry and was a bit snarky saying that a mature walnut tree in our area goes for about $500. So if she wanted to offer $5,000 plus the income I plan to make from the nuts every year plus the cost of an arborist to remove them, I would consider it. She left angrily and yelled I would hear from the police, which I haven't. My wife is on my side but thinks I was an asshole about how I said, no. A few of our neighbors have said they think Amanda is an asshole but that I'm also an asshole because the boy could suffer an allergic reaction because of a few trees I'm being pig-headed about. Just hoping others could weigh in. Edit. Her son has allergies to peanuts, nuts, eggs, and shellfish. Our local grocery keeps nuts in sealed containers and the school is completely nut-free. I'm a woman, as well. Not the asshole. Amanda sounds nuts. It's unrealistic to expect someone several streets away to cut down trees she didn't even know about for years. Not the asshole. Listen, I have a pretty severe nut allergy and I grew up on a walnut and hazelnut farm. Unless I want to roll in the nuts I'm in no danger. I don't pretend to know how bad this kid's allergies are, but forcing the entire neighborhood to go nut-free for the sake of her kids sounds super over the top. Besides, peanuts aren't nuts, they're legumes. If her kid is allergic to nuts she should know the difference. He could have both nut and legume allergies, but you still shouldn't have to restrict what is served, or grown, on your own property. Not the asshole, but do start documenting all interactions with her. This is gonna get worse before it gets better.